歡迎嚟到懸疑檔案。2013年9月20號星期五早上9點17分，Danville 警方收到咗一通報警電話，報案人係9歲嘅 Andrew。佢話父母嘅當鋪俾人打劫，佢嘅父母都中咗槍。
911, where's your emergency?
Is a robber at a pawn shop?
Someone's robbing the pawn shop?
And my parents got shot.
Where's the robber? Where is he?
He's right here right now.
What's your name?
Andrew Hawkinsmith.
Does he have a gun?
Yes.
Can he see you?
I'm in the back right now.
You're in the back? So the robber's at front of the store?
Yes, but come quickly.
Where are your parents?
They're dead on the ground. Come here quickly because I'm afraid. Please hurry.
Okay, they're coming, okay?
警方喺6分鐘之後就到達咗現場。一踏入當鋪，警方就喺櫃台後邊發現咗3具遺體，佢哋分別係當鋪嘅老闆同埋老闆娘 Michael 同埋 Angela， 同埋一位叫 Daniel 嘅黃金經銷商。之後，警方喺當鋪後方間房度揾到咗 Andrew 同埋佢仲係 BB 女嘅妹妹 Naomi。好彩嘅係佢哋並冇受傷。Michael 同 Angela 嘅身上分別中咗6槍同埋2槍，而 Daniel 嘅頭部就中咗3槍。警方喺現場發現咗17個.22口徑嘅彈頭，其中3粒子彈仲有火藥，並冇成功發射。櫃台上邊放住一個被打開咗嘅箧，收銀機入邊仲放住$1000嘅鈔票。Michael 同 Daniel 嘅銀包亦都冇被搶走。呢一點令警方認為兇手嘅目的可能唔係打劫。當警方打算 check 翻鋪頭嘅 CCTV 嗰陣，先發現原來當鋪並冇安裝 CCTV， 呢一點好唔尋常。所以警方開始喺當鋪附近詢問，睇下有冇人喺案發當時見到可疑嘅事情。一位商店嘅店員話俾警方知，喺案發之前，佢見到一架銀色嘅 MPV 泊咗喺當鋪嘅後邊，司機係一位身形強壯有鬚嘅男人。有咗呢一條線索，警方下一步要做嘅就係喺附近嘅區域尋找有安裝 CCTV 嘅鋪頭，希望可以揾到呢架銀色 MPV 嘅車主。與此同時，警方亦都將受害人嘅死訊話咗俾雙方嘅屋企人知，順便索取更多嘅資料。35歲嘅 Michael 喺幾個月之前先至啱啱接手經營當鋪。Michael 為人隨和，樂於助人，做生意童叟無欺，所以好受顧客嘅歡迎。佢同妻子 Angela 有一對仔女。Michael 非常專一，從來都冇拈花惹草，一家4口過住幸福美滿嘅生活。而 Daniel 就係一位黃金經銷商，經常走訪 Kentucky 中部唔同嘅當鋪進行交易。Daniel 喺鑑定鑽石同埋黃金方面有住豐富嘅經驗，佢有獨特嘅人格魅力，大家都好樂意同佢進行交易。Daniel 嘅女 Crystal 話俾警方知，Daniel 每日都有固定嘅日程，由於工作嘅關係，佢經常都會帶住大量嘅現金出門。聽到呢度之後，警方懷疑 Daniel 先至係兇手嘅目標，於是警方開始調查 Daniel 喺案發當日嘅行蹤。佢哋得知 Daniel 喺去到當鋪之前，曾經去過一間珠寶店。警方嚟到咗嗰間珠寶店，並要求睇 CCTV。CCTV 影到 Daniel 喺早上8點16分拎住個箧行入咗珠寶店，佢笑住咁同店員打咗個招呼，就去到鋪頭嘅後方進行交易。8點39分完成交易之後嘅 Daniel 出現喺鏡頭前， 同鋪頭入邊嘅一位顧客打咗招呼之後就離開咗。鋪頭出邊嘅 CCTV 亦都冇影到任何可疑嘅地方。之後，警方向唯一嘅目擊證人 Andrew 錄口供，佢亦都詳細咁描述咗案發經過。
Alright, now let's go about what happened today earlier before you and I met.
Yes. Anyways. And that reminds me of the dead people.
I know. You came with your mom and dad to the pawn shop? Okay. And
Dad came in.
Dan came in, and what did he have with him?
A suitcase.
A suitcase. What do you have in the suitcase?
Full of money. Then when they were talking, this guy comes in. When he saw the case of money, he was like, give me it, give me it. And then he shot him with fake darts. And my dad said, stop. I saw him shoot my dad with fake darts.
Angela 不斷哀求佢唔好傷害班細路，並吩咐 Andrew 將妹妹帶到後邊。
And I ran very fast with my baby sister. I just didn't want to be killed.
Okay. You did the right thing, Andrew. You know you saved your life and your baby sister. Did a good thing there.
That was the part when he shot my mother, like with fake darts. They looked like white little dots, like that.
Andrew 喺口供入邊不斷提到嘅 fake darts， 其實就係指消音器。
I don't know who he is or what he came in for, but it was probably for money.
Andrew 表示佢比爸爸大隻，身上着住綠色嘅外套。
He had like a fake beard.
What color was it?
Yellow.
Okay.
兇手嘅特徵同當時泊喺鋪頭後方嘅銀色 MPV 司機嘅特徵吻合，警方相信佢哋就係同一個人。呢個時候，警方仲唔肯定邊個先至係兇手嘅目標，於是佢哋對當鋪做咗背景調查，發現當鋪原來仲有另一個合夥人 Steve。警方得知 Steve 每個星期五早晨都會喺當鋪坐鎮，但係案發當日佢並冇出現喺當鋪，呢一點好可疑。於是警方即刻向 Steve 問話。警方問 Steve 案發當日點解冇去到當鋪。Steve 表示佢本來係打算去當鋪㗎，但係佢當日起身之後就有嚴重嘅鼻敏感，佢食咗藥就決定留喺屋企休息。當警方問佢點解當鋪冇安裝 CCTV 嗰陣， Steve 表示當佢哋接手當鋪嗰陣，當鋪嘅前老闆 Alan 已經將 CCTV 全部拆走，而佢哋亦都仲未有時間去安裝。Steve 嘅屋企人證明咗佢喺案發當日真係因為病而留咗喺屋企休息，而警方亦都證實咗佢嘅名下並冇任何銀色嘅 MPV， 所以佢嘅嫌疑亦都被排除咗。之後，警方擴大咗搜查範圍，希望可以喺 CCTV 度揾到嗰架銀色 MPV 嘅蹤影。一間租車公司嘅 CCTV 喺案發當日早晨8點45分，影到咗一架銀色嘅 MPV 喺旁邊經過。警方注意到呢架 MPV 係比較舊嘅車款，可惜都係唔能夠清楚咁見到車牌號碼。之後，警方發現同一架 MPV 喺早晨8點17分喺醫院附近出現過，並喺8點56分再次出現喺鏡頭前。警方知道司機一定係喺當鋪附近兜圈，等緊佢嘅目標出現。可惜佢哋都係冇辦法清楚咁睇到車牌號碼，於是警方唯有尋求大眾嘅幫忙，希望大家可以提供關於呢架銀色 MPV 嘅線索。9月24號，亦即係案發嘅4日之後，警方收到咗一通電話，係一位叫做 Tracy 嘅牧師打嚟嘅。
I'd gotten on Facebook and noticed, homicides in Danville, Kentucky pawn shop. And me immediately my heart sunk because I thought a friend of mine still owned that shop, Alan Keith. So that's when I called him. Immediately as soon as I started talking to him, it was an odd conversation. He said, I was in Danville today. I had to go to pick up my wife's medication at a pharmacy, and I can't get the pills in Somerset. I have to give them to Danville. Brother Harold, he said, I feel horrible because he said, I got Mike Hockensmith into the pawn business. He said, I used to tell Mike, keep your family out of this store. He said, let me give you a scenario, Mike. He said, a guy comes in with a gun, he puts a gun to your wife's head. He tells me, give me your gun. And he said, Mike, you're going to give up your gun. And as soon as you do, he's going to start slinging lead. And he's not going to stop till he kills everybody. Now, I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, why are you telling me this? And then he told me, he said, the other guy that was killed when I owned that business, he used to come in every week or so and buy my gold. That man would have $30,000 to $40,000 cash in a briefcase. He said, I think somebody watched him, they figured out his pattern, and it was a hit on the gold buyer. So I said, so pretty much Michael and Angela were innocent bystanders. And then he said, they weren't innocent. They cost me a lot of money.
Alan 所講嘅嘢無疑令佢成為咗嫌疑人。警方將 Alan 嘅名輸入資料庫，發現佢並冇任何案底。Alan 係當地嘅一位牧師，佢同 Michael 係喺教堂認識嘅，相識至今已經15年啦。Alan 喺幾個月之前被診斷出患上咗腦癌，所以佢先至會將當鋪賣俾 Michael。於是警方開始調查 Alan 喺案發當日嘅行蹤。佢哋嚟到咗 Alan 買藥嘅藥房，並 check 咗 CCTV。早晨9點24分，亦即係警方收到報警電話嘅7分鐘之後 ，Alan 進入咗藥房。雖然佢冇鬚，亦都冇着綠色嘅外套，但係由當鋪揸車到藥房，只需要短短嘅5分鐘。所以警方唔排除佢喺殺咗人之後再揸車到藥房，為自己製造不在場證據。深入調查之後，警方發現 Alan 擁有一架2008年型號嘅銀色 MPV。警方亦都攞到咗 Alan 嘅醫療記錄，發現佢根本就冇腦癌，身上亦都冇任何嘅腫瘤。患病一事只係佢自己編造出嚟嘅謊言。案發到而家已經過咗2個禮拜，雖然 Alan 好有嫌疑，但係目前警方手上嘅所有證據都係間接證據，咁樣並唔足以將 Alan 逮捕。於是佢哋聯絡咗 Tracy， 睇下佢願唔願意同警方合作，打電話俾 Alan 並進行錄音。Tracy 答應咗警方嘅要求。
Hello? Hey, where are we?
Hey, what's up? When somebody's been murdered in such a heinous way as what this was, you want to make them, out to be saints. But between you and me, brother, they were crooked people. They stole that business from me. I can't tell nobody none of this because what does it make me look like?
Yeah.
It makes me look like the perpetrator, see?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Alan 亦都喺電話度講出咗好多警方都冇對外公開嘅案件細節。
There was no money taken out of the register. There was no money taken out of the safe. It was Dan who was the target. There was no fingerprints, no DNA. They are not going to be able to stand up to court and say, here is the gun with Mr. Keith's fingerprints on it. It doesn't exist. I didn't kill nobody. And I knew the second this happened, I was the number one suspect.
跟住佢話俾 Tracy 知，佢喺返到 Somerset 之後就去咗一間洗車店洗車。警方知道呢個係一個確認 Alan 案發當日係咪揸住嗰架銀色 MPV 嘅好機會。於是佢哋嚟到咗洗車店並 check 咗 CCTV。早晨10點55分 Alan 行到咗櫃台。11點25分 Alan 揸住佢嘅銀色 MPV 離開咗洗車店。警方將唔同 CCTV 所影到嘅 MPV 片段交俾科技鑑證專家進行比對，證 證實咗佢哋係同一架車。之後 Alan 被警方逮捕。喺審訊室 Alan 表示自己並冇動機殺害佢哋。當警方問佢願唔願意接受測謊嗰陣， Alan 拒絕咗，原因係佢以前當兵嘅時候曾經喺危地馬拉殺過人，所以佢一定冇辦法通過測謊。之後佢就要求要見律師。同時警方亦都搜查咗 Alan 位於 Somerset 嘅當鋪，佢哋喺鋪頭度揾到咗超過10萬美元嘅現金。佢哋根據鈔票上 Money Band 嘅序號去到銀行查證，證明咗大部分嘅錢都係屬於 Daniel 嘅。警方亦都喺鋪頭度揾到咗一支.22口徑嘅手槍，並喺後門附近發現咗.22口徑嘅彈頭。經過彈道測試，證實呢支槍就係殺死 Michael、Angela 同埋 Daniel 嘅兇器。另外，警方亦都喺垃圾桶入邊發現咗自製嘅槍把，估計 Alan 一直都喺鋪頭後方練習射擊。除此之外，警方亦都調查咗 Alan 手提電腦入邊嘅搜尋記錄，發現佢喺案發嘅前一晚對本案嘅3名受害者進行咗背景調查。佢亦都上網搜尋咗如何黐假數同埋如何將有 GPS 坐標嘅鈔票埋藏等。另外，警方 check 咗 Alan 架 MPV 嘅 GPS 記錄，發現佢案發當日嘅行車路線都同 CCTV 影到嘅吻合，真相漸漸浮出水面。Alan 當時因為周轉不靈，已經好幾個月冇辦法支付當鋪嘅租金啦，所以當鋪嘅業主 Steve 就要求 Alan 以低價將當鋪轉讓俾佢。無奈之下 ，Alan 唯有答應 Steve 嘅要求。之後 ，Steve 決定邀請當時仲係當鋪經理嘅 Michael 成為合夥人，一齊經營當鋪。Alan 知道之後，認為 Steve 同 Michael 合謀走佢嘅生意，所以佢決定要殺死佢哋泄憤。佢仲特登選擇 Daniel 嚟到當鋪做交易嘅時候先至喐手，目的就係為咗轉移視線，等警方以為劫匪嘅目標係 Daniel。案發當日 ，Alan 揸車嚟到當鋪附近兜圈，等待落手嘅時機。9點左右 ，Daniel 就拎住大量嘅現金嚟到鋪頭進行交易。呢個時候，已經完成喬裝嘅 Alan 行入鋪頭，拎出手槍，要求 Daniel 將個篋交出嚟，然後再對佢哋開槍。目標之一嘅 Steve 就因為病而僥倖咁逃過咗一劫。作案之後 ，Alan 就即刻揸車去到附近嘅藥房買藥，為自己製造不在場證據。返到 Somerset 之後，佢即刻去到洗車店洗車，第一時間將所有可能留喺車上嘅罪證全部清理乾淨。之後，律政處以3項1級謀殺罪同埋1項搶劫罪起訴 Alan。2017年5月，喺開庭嘅3個月之前 ，Alan 為咗逃避死刑而同控方達成咗認罪協議。最終 ，Alan 被判終身監禁，不得假釋。